Emma. So we're trying a new podcast where we're going to have a look at how you can help people with the issues that we face in the modern world. So we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges people face today and how you think you can help.
So what do you find is the most challenging thing for you or that you see in the world then, just out of interest?
Well, I'm a sort of small business owner and I'm very passionate about what I do. I love what I do, but I think the limitations on me aren't my professional skills, because I would hope that that's a given, that I love what I do and I've done it for a long time and I'm good at doing my job. But I suppose the things that hold me back sometimes are things like anxiety, burnout, managing my time I find really difficult. Sometimes things like my self-confidence and imposter syndrome. And I suppose it's managing those personal limitations rather than the professional ones that hold you back in a professional context and in life in general. So,
And they're so common these days.
they really
So
are.
common. I mean, I would say most people, to a degree, are suffering from at least one of those things.
Yes.
I think there's so much going on in the world as well that is causing people to be anxious about things, and well, they should be a certain person or do certain things or have a certain job. So many pressures, don't you agree?
How do you think people begin to manage those? Because I think we all, like say, people like us that love what we do. How do we carry on doing the things we love, but also make sure that we're looking after ourselves and being there for the people that we love as well? What do you think is the key to helping people to do that, achieve that work-life balance that so many of us really struggle with?
I think the key is certainly to be aware of yourself. Self-awareness is really important. Understand and acknowledge the things that you're feeling that are negative and are not helping your life in any way. If the person kind of looks within themselves and deals with any anxieties or confidence issues or issues to do with self-worth, and they learn to love themselves, which nobody's really been taught how to do that, but it is doable because we are all lovable. And once people feel that and they feel that their own inner peace, that's when they can then go out and help other people and be a huge positive influence in the world. Yes, acknowledging that you may be having an issue with something or struggling with something is certainly the first step.
Yeah, so that's it. So the first thing that people need to do is acknowledge they need to do something. I heard a really great phrase used by a trainer recently, and it sounds so obvious, but it's like nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you don't do
That's
anything,
right.
then it's just going to stay the same, isn't it? So the first thing is that admit, not that you need help, because I think there's a stigma about that, isn't there? So you don't need help, but you have an area you want to improve on. That's just like every other area of your life. If you wanted to get fitter, or you want to get better at a certain skill in your job, or you want to learn to drive or something, you'd take positive steps to do it. And I think it's the same with mental health, isn't it?
I think it depends on the extent to which it's affecting your life in a negative way. There's certain things that we can do on a daily basis to help ourselves. If it's just mild anxiety, there's breathing techniques we can do. There's certain things we can do just to make our lives easier, really. We can write gratitude lists every morning, which it makes us become aware of all the amazing things around us and what we already have, without having to go out and get more and more and more. Movement. I mean, why do you think there's so many people struggling at the moment, in your opinion?
I think the nature of like work has changed. I think if you look at our grandparents' generation, I think they predominantly, and I'm massively stereotyping here, and it might not be the case across the board, I think people went to work and they did one job, and you weren't interrupted, crucially. Your brain was allowed to focus on that one job. Our brains now are like an internet browser with 20 tabs open, with a computer that's melting because they can't do all those things.
There's so much information coming at us from so many different angles, isn't there?
And I think sometimes that comes also through the world of social media and the internet. And I know I'm doing it, and there's times where I almost want to chuck my phone out the window. As useful, as much as our phones are useful, we love them, I sit there doing this, and I think, why am I doing that? Because I'm just allowing more things. If you imagine if I'm editing a film, and if I open up 4 different editing pieces of software and Photoshop and the internet and GarageBand all at the same time, my computer the fan will come on and it'll begin to make horrible noises at me. So I think, I'll shut something down because I don't want to break my computer, but I don't pay my brain and my body the same level of respect, and I keep trying to do too many things at once. And
so do you find yourself multitasking and flitting from one thing to the other?
Yes.
Without focusing on one task at a time?
I think the problem is then when you go back to the original task, you're having to catch up. And I think our grandparents' generation didn't do that. I think they focused on a task and they were more efficient for that reason, because we start to do a job and then we get pulled off to the other job, and then you have to remember what you were doing. And you have to, for me, for example, if I'm editing a video, I think, oh right, what was I doing? Where was that bit of the project? Where was I at with that? And what do I need to do?
So you're not actually in the flow of one particular task. No. Like our grandparents would have been, they go to work, they do that particular job, they come home, it's off their mind.
I try and do 7 things at once and don't achieve any of them, and then feel kind of burnt out, frustrated, feeling at the end of the day, because I feel like I had all these goals, I didn't achieve any of them. No. And it makes me really cross for myself.
Because your focus isn't fully on one task, is it? Yeah. So you're just touching on all of them, thinking you haven't got all of them done, and that's when it kind of gets to us. And
maybe the world's evolved as well. Like, for example, in my job, at one time, perhaps I would have just been the editor, I would have just been the cameraman, and I would just focus on that job. Yeah. Now I'm doing all of those things, and yeah, it's a struggle, and it makes you feel quite anxious, doesn't it? Because you think, I'm trying to keep everyone happy, I really want to do a good job for everybody, but it's really, really hard to do. So
there's different levels of it. I mean, you're saying you're trying your best to keep everybody happy around you. It isn't your job to make everybody happy around you, is it? And this is another part of the problem, that we feel it is our job to make sure everything around us is okay, that we're in control of everything around us, that we make sure that person is the way we want them to be. But it's our inner world that we need to control, the inner peace. That's what we need. We can't control everything around us. So we do have to take that step back and just tell ourselves, well, what is the most important thing that I do right now for my job? And just put the others to the side, even if it means, okay, I need to catch up a little bit with them. But at least when you go back to those other tasks, you're in the flow. You're in flow state to get those tasks done. If you're not in flow state, then it is a bit of a waste of time, a waste of your energy, because you haven't got the time to get into that state and give it everything you've got. You're just spreading your energy around.
So you would talk about flow state. How do I achieve that? Because that sounds really positive. How would I go from what I'm describing to you now, which I think is quite common, how do I get into that lovely state where I'm flowing and my to-do list is going in a nice, orderly fashion?
Flow state is when we manage to be in a state where the things around us are eliminated, or at least softened and dampened, so that we can achieve the goal that we want to achieve. So, I mean, I'll just go back a bit. Once we're in flow state, things happen naturally. We only have one goal in mind. So all of our energy, all of our intuition, all of our creativity, our greatest ideas, they all come together because we're focused on that. And if we use our gut instinct and intuition, and it's amazing what we can create and what we can do and what we can achieve in a very short amount of time. But when we're distracted by other things, just check my phone, or someone's calling me, shall I answer it or not? Or maybe I should just do that email. We're not focusing all of our energy on that one thing. 100%. And we can get things done 10 times quicker, 10 times better once we're in that flow state. The hardest part about getting in the flow state is the first 5 minutes, I would say, because we are distracted by certain things. And it is a case of just making yourself not look at your phone, not just answer that email, just keep focusing on it. And then you'll just slip into flow state eventually. But the first 5 minutes, we just need to sit through it until you can feel it, off you go. And it gets irritating then if something disrupts you, because you're in that state and your creativity is coming out and you're getting things done, and it's amazing.
So then you kind of want to be getting on the task, don't you? Because it's a good feeling. It's a satisfying, positive feeling. I'm doing stuff.
That's it.
And you don't want to open up Facebook or eBay or any of those things. No. One thing I found recently, and obviously we're not going to, on this podcast, won't advertise a particular brand, but I did see an app recently where you can actually lock your phone and you actually have to physically scan a code to unlock it, and you can select which areas of your phone you can't, so things like social media. You can just basically you've got emergency where it's customizable, but it stops that distraction. Because I don't know if you're like that, but when I'm working and my brain's screaming out for distraction, or if a message comes in, well, I've got to look at that, it's important to look at that. It's usually not.
I mean, if that works for you, that's amazing. For me, it's airplane mode and silent, put it on silent.
It's the same.
I do tend to get vibrations through still. I'll sometimes put it in a different room because then I can't. I
had to stop wearing my Apple Watch that reason, because every time I vibrated, it was like I was going like this.
And it's a habit. You know, it's just familiar to
people must think I've got some sort of like condition, because I would physically be doing this constantly. And it was like an automatic, like one of Pavlov's dogs, that every time my wrist vibrated, I had to check it.
And we are like a slave, aren't we, to our phones? And notifications and new information. We feel we need to know all of this information that's coming in.
I mean, ironically,
don't.
all this came through my phone, but I saw a thing the other day and it said we're addicted to the most powerful drug in the history of mankind, which is the addiction to the dopamine rush that we get when we get a notification.
Yes.
And we are scrolling and scrolling, and so many hours of our life go into that.
Absolutely.
And it's a very negative loop to be in, isn't it? You know, and you think,
no wonder we have suicidal teenagers.
Yeah.
Do you know, every 45 seconds last year, we lost a life to suicide. And that's unbelievable, isn't it?
that's an unacceptable statistic,
And
isn't it?
I was just thinking about that because of the phones, but it isn't real connection. It isn't you and me talking, looking at each other, seeing each other's reactions and gestures, and it's the other side of a screen. And even if it's a video or even a FaceTime, it's not quite the same as actually being in that energy with somebody.
Yeah, you get that kind of energy from actual human interaction, don't you?
And we need that as human beings. It's essential.
A Chinese village, and everyone lived to be over 100. And they said, what is the reason that everyone in this village lives to such a long age? And one of the factors was communal living, because they genuinely, because of the nature, they're quite, by our standards, like not materially rich. So they had to interact with each other, they had to be in each other's houses working together, and being in company all the time was one of the factors being along, because for your mental health it's so good.
They don't suffer from anxiety, they don't suffer from depression generally. When you look at the statistics, it's extremely rare.
And it's the toxicity also that comes online. Like, for example, you and I, actually it's a bad example because you tend to agree on everything, but like if you have a disagreement with someone in real life, you go, oh, I don't agree with you actually, and these are the reasons I don't agree with you, but you're still my friend, let's have a pint. Whereas on the internet, people tend to be quite abusive to each other quite quickly, become extremely personal, and it's like there's only one right opinion, which is mine, and then I'm going to shout down and abuse anyone who doesn't agree. And people say and do things that they wouldn't do, I think, in person on the internet.
Yes, and it's not just the negativity that we see, unfortunately, but it's how we interpret certain things as well. Somebody may not be being negative, but the way we interpret a text message can be completely different because we're not feeling the emotion of the person that sent the message.
Yeah.
We're not seeing the gestures and the facial expressions of the person that sent the message, so we don't know how they were feeling when they sent it. It may have been sent in a funny, laughy, jokey way.
Yeah.
But if we're feeling sad, we're a little bit frustrated at the time, we're not going to take it that way. So it's caused conflict for no reason as well.
Yeah. And when you get sort of a work message in, someone can be saying something really polite, and they're like, I really love this, but can we just change this? But when you read it in an email or text message, you can just think, everyone hates me. I've done everything wrong. Whereas if we sit and have face-to-face interaction like this, I can tell the nuance of your voice, your facial expression, your body language. You can actually say quite a lot to me without actually saying anything at all, can't you? And you miss that with, as useful, we wouldn't be without electronic communication, obviously, but it's good to be able to put it in context, isn't it? And sometimes put it to bed. I've started to really enjoy visiting places where I haven't got Wi-Fi. And one time it was like, this hotel has Wi-Fi, and that's like, I almost think I'd go to a place that says we don't have any Wi-Fi. Nobody can get you here for 24 hours, and it's lovely, but we're in control. We forget. We don't have to, we can turn these things off.
Yes.
And
but we don't, because that becomes our life, especially children.
Yeah.
They think that's all there is.
Yeah.
You and me, we were brought up with no technology, really,
Victorian
weren't we?
era.
Just starting to come in, wasn't it?
It's just all,
Well, for me, not you. You're younger than me, but
no, I think we are the last generation, aren't we? That we did both. We remember the pre-digital age and the digital age, and I think we're quite unique. We are the only generation that really crosses both of those things, aren't we? We remember the world before, when people used to go to concerts and watch the band and not film
that's
it.
It's a completely different experience.
But if you told us 20 or 30 years ago that most of our lives would be experienced through the fact that you would watch films on your phone, you'd think someone was quite mentally ill, wouldn't you? And if someone told you they were going to watch a film on their phone, you'd be like, are you?
So there's pros and cons, definitely. I often think if the internet went down, if the Wi-Fi went down, no broadband, just imagine how much effect that is going to have on the world, on our lives. Because we're becoming more digital, aren't we? So the bigger companies, even the NHS, and we rely on it so much. And it's becoming more and more to do with technology, less and less human interaction face to face. What if that was wiped out? Where would we be left? I often think that to myself. It's not a bad question to ask yourself.
No.
Who will I have around me? Who would I help? Who will be there to help me?
That's a really interesting
What do I
question.
have to be grateful for when all of this technology is gone? I'm not being negative. I'm just saying it's a good way to think about things, because we never know what's going to happen in the future.
No.
The world at the moment is quite, we feel up in the air. There's lots of things going on, lots of things happening. But just looking at what we have around us, who we are, the people around us, that's really important. We shouldn't forget.
sometimes say, what's your happiest time in your entire life? And actually, when I look at it, it is that time when I'm on a hillside somewhere, sleeping on top of a Land Rover with no, like, for context, in a roof tent, not just strapped to the roof. My phone is, I probably can't get signal. If I can, I'm not looking at it. And I'm sitting next to a fire, I'm cooking my dinner on a fire, and I'm watching the stars and having a drink. And
So if somebody gave you a huge amount of money to live in a hut with no running water and no
I
internet
wouldn't
for
see that.
months,
It's not a challenge. That's my dream.
that's how I feel.
Yeah. It's like, I was like,
That's how I
yeah,
feel,
it sounds
yes.
great. Yeah, I often see that with people. They say, "Oh, would you live on this isolated island for £1 million?" It's like, I'd live on that island for a tenner. I was like, it looks fantastic, but maybe that's, I don't know.
You might change your mind after a couple of years.
Yeah.
We have been a bit spoiled, haven't we?
Yeah,
Technology.
the point is, though, that I think the happiest times are actually being disconnected. And getting back to, there's so much like you can enjoy from just, like, for example, the natural world, and being out and enjoying things that are free and natural, and almost getting back to the way people used to live.
Yes, but it's not familiar for people to do that, is it? The mind always goes to what's familiar. So familiarity is being in an office or on your phone or watching movies, Netflix all night. For some people,
It challenges you to go and do something different,
Yes,
isn't it?
yeah.
And it's an easy dopamine rush, isn't it? And I think this whole thing of sitting there scrolling, and sometimes I'm like, I actually think, what am I looking for? I'm going back through all these apps, and what is it that I'm expecting to find? And it's not. I'm not actually purposely looking for anything. I'm looking for the dopamine rush of somebody tags me in something. I've got a notification. I've got a message, and that gives a little bit of dopamine in my brain, and I am addicted to that feeling. And that's why I sit there doing this.
the opposite of that, James, is that when you don't get enough likes or you don't get tagged in something, it's devastating.
I know.
You feel, or people feel, crushed because they feel they're not accepted, they're not liked, and all of these negative feelings start to come up. And this is the thing about the technology can take away your sense of who you actually are. Who are you really? And your identity is almost a fake one, because it's your place in the world with the technology and thinking you have to do this or be a certain way.
A good point of fact, actually, with the other thing about the internet is you can pretend to be anyone, can't you? So I was doing business networking during COVID, and obviously being a photographer, I'm quite good at framing myself to look much more handsome and athletic than I actually am. So I think a good camera angle and a sympathetic background. And this woman said, when we went back to face-to-face meetings, I said, "Oh, James, I just thought you'd be so much bigger in real life." I was like, "Thanks." But I think she was expecting a strapping 7-foot Viking, and then I sort of waddled into view, and she's like, that's the most disappointing thing I've ever seen. So, but sometimes it's like, there's that element, isn't it, with the internet, where it's not real. It's a projection of ourselves. It's the version of our lives that we want people to see. We edit out.
That's it.
We edit out the bad bits.
I mean, who wants to see somebody when they've just got out of bed? We don't think people want to see that, do we?
No.
So we don't show those photographs.
But then we assume everyone is doing life properly because we see them doing the good stuff, don't we? We see the holiday, the wedding. Yeah,
But it's not like that,
the
is it?
date
And
night.
people still think it is. A lot of people do, especially the children. They look at their own lives and think, well, I'm scruffy a lot of the time, or I don't have nice clothes like that, or I'm not going to these places. And they see all the pictures of the smiley, happy people on there.
Yeah.
But everybody's the same. Everybody has down days. Everybody is scruffy. Everybody falls asleep in the afternoon occasionally, or has a bit of a moan. That's normality.
I think the thing is as well, like, for example, my job is a good case in point. I'm only going to put a post of something cool that I'm doing. So if I'm up a mountain filming something, everyone goes, "Wow, your job's so cool." I don't send them a picture of the 12 hours a day I sit in front of a Mac crying, because because it's not interesting. But that edited version of my life makes me look much more exciting than I actually am, as it's a distortion. And then because people look at themselves through the lens of the rest of the world, they get a distorted view of, "Oh, I'm a failure because I don't do those cool things."
Comparing. That's it, yeah. And we need to really believe in ourselves, love ourselves, and just know that we're all great people.
So that's a hard thing to do, isn't it? I think, because we're naturally, particularly, I hope it's okay to say that in British culture, I think we're very much, we don't know about, it's a bit of a taboo to say, "I love myself." You certainly wouldn't say, "I'm great, I'm brilliant." Like I got told to do positive affirmations once. And I thought, as an Englishman, it's really difficult to sit in front of the mirror and saying, "I'm brilliant." And my wife was like, "Yeah, you're amazing, you're brilliant, you're talented." And I'm like, "I'm all right. I can't actually
Because
say,
again, it's not familiar, is it?
not,
It's making it familiar. And the mind
Yeah.
learns by repetition. And the more we say it, the easier it gets, till it becomes part of our vocabulary
Yeah.
and how we feel about ourselves.
My wife is much wiser than I am. And the other day I said something like, I had a really difficult job at the weekend. I had to go and do filming, but also had a client come around, and I had to do something really complicated for them at the same time that I had to do something else in an editing project. And I was basically doing 3 really complicated things at once, and I had 2 hours to do it all in. And I said, I just can't do it all. And I did. And I did it with about 10 minutes to spare. And I said, God, actually, I'm quite good at, very occasionally, I'm really good at solving problems, aren't I? And I don't feel like I'm a genius, but I think I was like, just occasionally, I think I did pretty well. And Ruth said, yeah, you do these things for other people so everyone else gets it. But what you don't do is you do it at the expense of yourself. Yeah. Because I was just looking at it from the perspective, well, I did the thing and I'm alive and everyone's happy. But I didn't think, actually, that's taken a massive chunk out of me. 2 hours ago, I was pulling my hair out. I was really stressed. And it's like, so sometimes you think, I look after the people and I'm so desperate. I think as people, we want to make other people okay. But actually, part of making sure other people are okay, you can't do that if you haven't looked after yourself first to make sure that you're okay is really important, isn't it?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Part of what you're doing, if it's your career and it's your job and you've agreed to do certain tasks for people by a certain time, you will get that dopamine hit by getting those jobs done because it's your career and you want to help those people. Yeah. So that's fine. But you need to be looking at boundaries as well. Did you take on too much work for that 2-hour period? And planning and making sure that you don't get to that point where I can't do it. But you did do it. That's another good point there that you're making, because if you have a certain time where you need to get something done, it's amazing what you can get done. If you say, okay, I've got this task to do and I've got about 5 hours until it needs to be done, you'll make it last that 5 hours. Yes. If you have half an hour and you know you've got something after that half an hour as well, wow, you'll get it done.
Well, my mum had lots of Derbyshire sayings, only about 50% of which actually made sense. But one that she did say that was really good was, tasks that span to fill the time available.
Yes.
And it's
famous person that, is that Parkinson's law?
I think so. It might be actually. I've said it's my mum, but it's actually probably, Parkinson. Like most people, I want to work less, right, and live more. I love working, don't get me wrong, but I want more time with my family. And especially as you get older, that means to sound like too depressing. You do kind of think, well, actually, you begin to think how much time you've got to do other things and what do I want to do with my life, right? Countries where they're introducing shorter working weeks. So, because we've almost got, I suppose, that culture at the moment where we live to work rather than working to live. And I was quite interested in Norway? Or it was definitely a Scandinavian country. I want to say either Norway or Sweden. And they introduced a 25-hour working week. And I thought it was a really fascinating experiment. And they said that productivity went, because if someone said to you, Emma, I mean, you're much more efficient than me anyway. But if someone said to me, so James is probably a better example than Emma. But if I said, James, you've got 5 hours, you've got all your editing to do in 5 hours. And then I would just stay hyper focused and I'd do it all in 5 hours.
Because you had 5 hours, you will very quickly get into that flow state.
Yes.
And that's what makes you efficient.
Yes.
All your energy's going into it.
Whereas the days that I know I've got to sit in front of a computer for 10 hours, I go, oh, God, I have to sit here for 10 hours. And you sort of go, I'll just have a little go on eBay before.
Just go and get another glass of water or have a bag of crisps or something.
Exactly.
Check my phone.
Exactly that.
I'll do that email because that's quite important.
I'm going to just check Jet2 because I might go on holiday. Yeah. So, do you know what I mean?
Before you know it, it's 4 hours ahead.
Yeah. So you've basically done 5 hours work in 10 hours.
Yeah.
Because if someone said to me, I almost love it when people do that. I love a deadline. When people say, right, when I'm under pressure, I can suddenly achieve. And also it stops me being a perfectionist as well. We
don't need to do things to perfection.
Yeah, you just need to do them. And I think that's one of my worst traits. So, I'm really interested. I'm very interested. I would love to see that in this country, a 25-hour working week. I suppose it's not feasible for everyone. It's
like when people used to have Sundays off. It's a bit different now, isn't it? And it still happens to a certain extent. Yes. But that was the day we all had off.
Yes.
And you could completely relax on that day because you knew you can't go into work. Although at the moment we still have our phones, etc., don't we? Yeah. But if you have a certain day off and you're not allowed to, like COVID, we weren't allowed to go out. There are a lot of problems for people with COVID. But one of the good things is we couldn't go out to work, could we?
And I don't think we'll ever have that again. I remember actually at the time being terrified because I thought the whole world was possibly ending, like literally ending. But it was the one time I remember going out to the garden and reading a book and thinking, well, nobody is that bothered, I can go and do that.
Because you felt you could.
Yeah.
And at the moment we don't feel we can
And
do
I
that, do we?
sat in the garden, I gardened, I caught up on old films and video games and played instruments I haven't played for years. It's lovely. And I think that time, that that sort of sacred time that you have to have off, I think we've abandoned that. Like, I remember
We won't allow ourselves to do it.
No,
will we?
Sundays as
We
a
need
kid.
that recognition. It's almost like we need that external recognition to feel good about ourselves, and that's why we keep going to the point where we're going too far, too much.
And when you are relaxing, when you have a weekend off, you're generally trying to, you're still in that work state. You're still, you've probably got better words than me, but I would call it, my brain is still fizzy. So I'm still thinking about the work tasks. And like, when I go on holiday, it takes me like 2 or 3 days to actually get into a relaxation state.
Yes.
Again, because I'm so, used to this, like driving in the fast lane and having my 20 internet tabs open in my brain, and it's...
So do you take breaks during the day?
Yeah, I've tried to do this. I actually, as you know, I built a log cabin in my garden, and I've been trying to actually take some time out, just to like go, do you know what? I can take 15 minutes. I'm going to lie on the lawn, for example, and I'm just going to listen to the birds for 15 minutes. Or I brush around my garden and I'll put up some weeds or something, or look at things and, just a little, and I just take 10 or 15 minutes, then I'll go back to the task, and it just keeps me focused.
It does, doesn't it? It puts everything into perspective again.
Yeah, definitely. It makes you realise why you're doing it, because you've got to have a why, haven't you? Otherwise, you're just a slave, whereas if you think, I'm doing this because I want to do more of this. And
this is why it's a good idea to kind of look into the future and where do you see yourself, where do you want to be? Because without that, we just keep going doing the same, and we end up feeling stuck. And life is rubbish, and all this starts to come out because we just feel stuck. Where are we actually going? Why are we here? All of these things are coming up. I'm not enjoying life. So having a goal that's different to just the career you're doing, or making plans to go away, see different places if you can, and or just go outside. I mean, I keep saying that about nature, but it's so important. It's amazing that it's just there.
It's very interesting. I read an article the other day that said that young people, like I suppose in their, say, like 80s or 90s, people would say a sign of being successful was having a flash car, I don't know, not my bag, but having a posh watch or something, and going, look how many things I've got. So that actually is increasingly, as time goes on, people will see a sign of success as having more leisure time and spending more time, mindful time. That's seen as true wealth.
I think that's changing already, isn't it? People don't just define success as money, cars and big houses. Success is good relationships with your friends and your family and the community.
I mean, it's a
that
cliche,
is what
but it's
gives
true.
You that energy, that source energy, really.
Yeah.
And you can't really find that in material things.
I don't
Only a
think
quick, temporary
It is.
buzz.
It's again, it goes back to dopamine, doesn't it? It's like when I'm stressed at work, I go on Amazon and I'm literally, I thought, better buy I need a robot vacuum cleaner was my thing this week. And I thought, I don't need a robot. I've got a Veleda mop. I don't need a robot to mop my floor. But
a pony.
That was a pony. I'm not buying one of those either. But but I'm buying things because it makes me feel good to buy them, and because I'm stressed. And so that acquiring things makes me feel happy until I've acquired them, and then I want something else. That's really negative, isn't it?
But again, where is this coming from? The feeling of I need more, I want more. Something is not feeling satisfied.
Yeah.
The person isn't feeling satisfied. Usually this comes down to they didn't have enough love or connection in their younger years. If you find anybody that's really struggling with like addictions, I need more alcohol, I need more even chocolate or shoes or more of anything, it tends to come down to a lack that they had before. And people aren't aware of that really, but we go back and we find the root cause of that, and that's where it comes from. They never had enough, and they just keep thinking more will give them what they didn't have, which is quite sad really.
So what do we do about all these things? What's the solution?
It depends what the problem is. Some people can't get motivated, they procrastinate, they're stuck. At the other end you have people that are burnt out or on the verge of burnout because they're doing too much. So it is finding that balance, making sure you have things in your life that you want to do, that you have the people around you that you want around you, that you're setting boundaries and saying no when you mean no, saying yes to things when it feels right for you, getting to know yourself, not just your mind but physically. Feel those feelings within yourself. Does this feel right for me? How does this energy feel? Is this person right? Which is the path I want to go on? Who am I? And any problems that are significantly affecting your life or holding you back or anything, phobias, burnout, anxiety, the trauma, so many things. Yes, we can find the root cause. We go back under hypnosis. I think there's different methods, but part of it is in hypnosis so that we can deal with the subconscious, and that's where we have all the answers. It knows everything, and it will take a client to where they need to go to find that root cause. And then we can reframe it and turn it around, because, if something happened age 2 or 3 and a limiting belief is formed, like I'm not lovable, for example, if something happened with a parent, that's just reinforced through all of their childhood, like layers and layers and layers of the same thing that compound, and it goes off into their adulthood and affects them in ways that they would never realise came from there in the first place, but it's affecting their adult life.
I suppose I look at it a little bit like it's a computer program in your brain.
Yes.
And there's been a virus put in there at one point or other. There's a line of bad code, and that, like spreads and spreads and spreads until, and it can be a really small interaction as a child or a young person, can't it? That affects your whole adult outlook. So
it can be something that you wouldn't think would cause problem. Somebody may have had a really traumatic experience with something, or a few, and with a conscious mind they'll probably think, oh yeah, it must be related to that. But when we go deep into the subconscious mind, take them somewhere else where you think, well, that doesn't sound a big thing, but for that 2-year-old in that moment, those feelings they felt were so powerful. That's where it started.
Oh, fascinating.
And that's more significant than what you would think would be the cause.
That's amazing. So, well, I'm sold, frankly.
But for somebody else, the main traumatic event may be the thing, but that isn't always the case at all.
So if people are interested, if there's people out there who have similar issues, because I think all of us do, don't we? And I think we're good at masking, because it's, to a certain extent, it's getting better, but still stigma back talking about mental health, isn't it? And it's hard.
Yeah.
If you break your leg, you'd say, well, I put my leg in a cast. Whereas if you say I'm depressed, or I'm anxious, or, that's a harder thing to say, isn't it?
It is for some people.
What's the most positive step? Is it to get in touch with you? And
yes, get in touch and we can have a chat. I mean, it really depends what the problem is, how it's affecting your life, where you want to be, what will life look like without the problem, and getting from A to B. But first step is a chat. We have a chat.
Yeah. See, I love that idea. I love the idea of my life without anxiety. I can't tell you. So what do you say?
Because a lot of people say, so what would life look like without the problem? And I say, well, I don't want to be stressed, and I don't want to be anxious, and I don't want to be this size, and they're saying what they don't want, but they find it very difficult to say what they do want, because they're stuck in that don't want this, and focusing really on the stress and anxiety. So yes, it can take a while just to change that. And so what do you want? Let's change that word then. So if you don't want this, that means you do want that. And we find this vision and this, they know where they want to be and how life will look like without the problem.
So I suppose a lot of people might say as well is, when you first said hypnotherapy to me, and I didn't understand what you did, and now I like to think I understand a little bit. I suppose people think hypnotherapy, the first place my mind goes is Phoenix Nights, right? And I assume that you're going to be on stage and you're going to make me like James, you're a camel now. And I know it's not that, but for people that don't understand, or maybe haven't seen this type of therapy before, can you explain what happens when you go into use hypnotherapy and you go into that sort of very relaxed state? Can you explain to me what that looks like?
So it is a very relaxed state, and that's all it is, but we're changing the brain waves slightly. So we start off at the beginning. Well, I can show you. Roll our eyes up, close the eyelids, then you have that fluttering sensation. And that's a bit like REM before we go to sleep, rapid eye movement. And that's when the brain waves start to change. So then we let the eyes go wherever, and we relax, look down a bit and walk down some steps. And it's just about getting into that relaxed state. What we want to get to is an alpha state, alpha brainwave, because that's when we're accessing the subconscious.
Yes.
And that's when this critical mind, no, you're not good enough, no, you can't do it, you're an idiot, it stops chatting. So we're just left with the truth, the 95% of the mind, which is the truth that's recorded everything from birth.
Yes.
And it will always answer as the truth for that person, which is why I can never make somebody do anything. They would argue back if I suggested something that wasn't right for them. So it's impossible for me to make somebody rob a bank or turn them into a chicken.
Really important point is everyone is under control at all times, aren't they?
Yes.
So it's not like, I think people sometimes think when they're hypnotised, you're telling them to do things, and that's not the case, that you are always complete and you're in control.
I mean, in the movies, I think movies have put people off hypnosis. They hypnotise people to do certain things, don't they, and find out information. But I can't do that. We're just looking into the past of the person's life
Yeah.
and their experiences and how they felt in that moment. It's not really the experiences or the events that we're looking at.
Yeah.
We're going to the events so that we can find the feelings that they felt.
Yes.
Because it's the feelings and the emotions that are imprinting beliefs, which are then carried through to adulthood. So getting back to what you were saying, people are definitely in control. At any point, if they wanted to open their eyes and get up and use the bathroom, they could. It's very simple, but it's so powerful. Once we can bypass that critical factor, it's called, just a point where we just dip below. And some people, they don't feel like they're in hypnosis until they come out, and then they think, oh yes, and always aware of what they're saying as well.
Fantastic.
So yes, through the training I had, it's just so powerful. I've been through it myself for my childhood, as we do when we train, and it's just incredible how you can find the answers that you've been needing to find for so long. And talking therapy, it does have its place, and part of what I do is talking therapy as well, and it's all combined. But you wouldn't go to the brain surgeon with a problem and him say, well, yes, you'll have a few sessions on this, and then we'll talk about this, and then we'll talk about how you're feeling, and maybe look at doing it in a year. People want answers straight away to mental issues as well as physical issues. So yes, by working with the subconscious, it's so much faster and get the answers much more quickly, get it sorted. So I love my job. I say that so many times, I love my job. It's such a great feeling to see people come to me. I'm honoured that they trust me with their innermost, sometimes really painful stories, but to see them walk out and just be completely changed. It's
almost certainly save lives, really.
Talking about saving lives, suicide, anybody that gets to that state, it's a shame that they do get to that state, really, where they feel that way. I do talk to people that have suicidal thoughts. I have before that have attempted suicide, and it's not anything to be ashamed of. It's actually good to talk about it. I'll just bring this up as well, everything is confidential completely, unless I felt somebody was at harm in that moment, either harming themselves or harming somebody else. By law, I have to contact the authorities. But suicide, it's sad that it's happening. It doesn't need to happen.
No.
If people just reach out when they're starting to feel something isn't right. That's the time to do it, not 2 years down the line when they're on the verge of not wanting to be here.
Thank you so much. That's been wonderful.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely fascinating.
Thank you.